Hi, my name's Tracey. Welcome to my Tiger Totem colouring tutorial. So today I'll be showing you how to colour in this tiger. This is part one of a three-part tutorial, and I'll be showing you how to colour in the tiger using Copic markers, pastels and pencil. This page is from my new book called Totem Animals Colouring Book, and you can purchase it from Amazon and also from Etsy as instant downloads. And you can find all those links in the description below. In Australia, November is White Ribbon Month, and White Ribbon is the world's largest movement of men and boys working to end men's violence against women and girls. And you can help just by colouring this page Tiger Totem during November. In purchasing the page from Etsy, you automatically donate 50% of the proceeds to White Ribbon. All countries are more than welcome to participate. So thank you so much for helping make a difference. In light of Stand Up Speak Out, a grayscale version of this colouring page will also be available as a special release. I'm sure I will support White Ribbon every year, so be sure to check my website for colouring fundraisers. So just getting right into it here, I'm beginning with the Canary Yellow using a Copic marker, and I am leaving a bit of that white around the top edge there because that's the highlight. And just continuing along and still leaving a little bit of white. It's easier to leave white than having to add it later. So at this stage, it's just filling in the foundation layer, just covering all that, blocking in all that yellow area there. And I've chosen to use the Copics as the kind of like an underpainting because it's so vibrant and you can get really bold colours. I wanted this tiger to really just be vibrant and energetic. So I'm pretty sure I've captured that here with my use of colours. And I'm just about to blend here, so I'm making sure that yellow is wet before I put on the fuchsia colour. And I'm just going backwards and forwards, re-wetting and blending as you need to. These two colours are a little bit hard to blend because the fuchsia is so dark in contrast to the lightness of the yellow. So that's okay. I'm going to use some pastels over the top of it later to get a smoother blend. This is the bottom layer, so it's alright. So I'm making sure I apply that fuchsia when the yellow is while it is still wet. It's easy to blend the smaller areas because they stay wet. And yes, I do have this in super fast motion, so I'm sorry if it's a bit too quick. It is a 22-minute tutorial, so I didn't want to drag it on any longer than I had to. When I work on the mouth later on, I do slow it down a bit so it can be a bit easier to follow. You do have to work pretty quick, even just putting in that solid layer, because you do still get streaks and lines forming if you don't work quick enough. It just dries too quick. So here I did want to leave some white for the whiskers. It's easier to do that rather than adding it later on with the pencil. So now I'm using an orange chrome. Now this is a Derwent Studio pencil. It's not a pastel, it's an art pencil. I chose to use this because it was just brighter than the pastel. I just couldn't get a vibrancy from the other pastel I was trying to use. So I'm just blending that into the yellow and just going around all those where the black lines will be, the stripes. So I'm using quite a heavy pressure, but I am lightening it as I go to the edge, if that makes sense, blending it into the yellow. I am going to leave some of those areas for the pink layer. There's going to be a pink pastel that goes over it, and I found that the pastel doesn't quite like to go over the top of that pencil, unfortunately, so I'm just going to leave some areas. You do want to make sure the Copics were dry before applying the pencil and the pastel. Now I'm just going to use, this is a pastel pencil, so it's a zinc yellow, and I'm just doing the very edge of that orange line, just the very edge to blend it into the yellow Copic. I've matched this zinc yellow up with the Copic. It's pretty much perfect. They're exactly the same yellow, which is awesome. So that just blends it. You can't even tell the pastel's on there over the top of the Copic. The zinc yellow is a Derwent pastel, and I do list all the materials in the description. You don't really even need to do this necessarily, but I like to have soft blends, and why not? If you can do it, do it. So now I'm using the Stabilo pastel. Now that pink is a pastel. Now I've matched it pretty close to that Copic, so it looks like it's just extending it. I decided to use the pastels to do those blendings around those edges because that way I don't have to bother about working wet on wet with the Copics. They're just easier to blend the pastels, and you're not pushed for time and having to worry about streaks, and you get that beautiful softness, see? So basically with that, with that pink, all I did was I went over the edge of the Copics where it needed to blend into the yellow, and I extended it. It's kind of like cheating. It's my way around it. So now I'm using this beautiful purple. It's so vibrant. I love it on this pink. I love it. It even looks pretty good without the need to blend, but I'm using the STUMP blender anyway. It's a number 5, just to make it super smooth. So this purple is basically for the deepest shadows. And I really just want to use it on the pink, not the yellow, because you get an awful murky, muddy colour if I do that. With any excess pastel, I do blow it off the page in the direction away from the coloured image. I also use the STUMP blender to push the excess pastel into the paper. Now I'm just using this Copic, the Amethyst. I'm just going to do these areas purple. The others I will do black. But these ones, yeah, they're kind of going into the distance. They don't necessarily need to really pop. And it's good to create a variety rather than just having all black lines, or stripes I should say, because they're actually stripes. I'm just using some of that pastel. There was some on the STUMP blender, so I used the purple and put it in those little areas. Now going back to this, I decided, hang on, why don't I do all the pink later? I'll start here on the yellow and start blending. I just want some yellow highlights at the top of his back. Make sure it's wet. It's so important to make sure it's wet when you blend. And work pretty quickly even here, just blocking it in. But you've got to also take your time to make sure you don't go outside of the border there. And I will go back over that with the pastel once it's dried anyway, and to get even a softer blend than that. Now you don't even necessarily have to, it actually looks okay like that. You're invited to upload your finished page to the Stand Up Speak Out post on my Facebook page to help raise awareness against violence against women and girls. Even if you purchase the entire Totem Animals colouring book, you can still help raise awareness by just uploading your Tiger Totem page to the Facebook post. So in this new Totem Animals colouring book, it has 22 totem animals. So there's also lions, there's wolf, there's owl, there's a raven, crow, sea turtle, and gee, what else is there? Lots and lots of spider, fox even. So it's really cool. I love my totem animals. So here, yeah, you can just try and get in as neat as possible. It's really hard. I'm a bit messy. I'm not so great at it. Plus I was rushing for the purpose of this tutorial. You do need to let it dry before you apply the pastel. That's pretty important as well. So now that it's dry, I'm using the pastel pencils. You can use your finger to blend or use a stump blender. On large areas, I prefer to use my finger. I've got more control. It's just easier. The purple's so beautiful on there. On the small areas, I do use that stump blender. Then just going around the, I don't know what to call that. I call it the hair, the mane maybe, I don't know. Tigers don't have manes. I'm not sure what it is, but yeah, just going around the outside as a shadow and around the ear here. That middle of the ear will become black, so you can just leave that white for now. I prefer to do all the pastel work before I lay down the black Copic because otherwise it just gets messy. The pastels go onto the black and it smudges, and it's just neater to try and hold off and do it last. So just using the pastel pencils here, I'm leaving some of the areas white and just blending it all in. Then just softening around where the hairline does finish, blending into the back there and just into the white. Now it's time to add the black, so voila, it's done. You can just see how vibrant it is now. So I just wanted to add some highlights here on some of the black, not all of it, just a little bit with the purple. Just at the front. The back stripes I'll leave black. Didn't even find I need to really blend that. So yeah, so I'm starting with the mouth now, and I am using the R20 blush, and while it's still wet I'm putting on the fuchsia colour to blend it. I'm just working sections intentionally because I want it to stay wet enough to blend. If I leave it too long it just dries. So I'm leaving a bit of the highlight there. Try and leave a bit of white. It doesn't always work, it kind of bleeds into it. But if you can get a little bit on there, that'll be good. I couldn't zoom in any more than this, sorry, because it just lost too much quality. So I just had to keep it like this. I should mention that I did use the black on the ear. You can see at the back of the ear and around it. It's hard to see on here, but the black's around the ear and also inside the ear, so that's kind of important. It blends pretty well, these the blush and the fuchsia colour together, but if it doesn't, don't worry because you can go over it with pastel. You can even match the pink if you needed to and use that. I do want to leave a bit of white it's a bit hard sometimes. You've got to be careful, it just bleeds into it. As you can see, my artwork is of a fantasy nature. I just love fantasy. You can be so creative and imaginative and just go wild with it, which is why I've chosen non-traditional colours. So just get as creative as you would like, and you know, you can show me. I actually have a Facebook colouring group, and I love getting on there and seeing how people colour my art. They're very impressive actually, oh my gosh. And if you'd like to join, it's called Michelle Tracey's Fantasy Art Adult Colouring Group. I mean, you could use even a red. I contemplating using red, but because I didn't use it in anywhere else, I kind of didn't want to. I thought I'd just carry these colour schemes throughout. But you could add some red. Just using the yellow on the tips. I guess that's where the lighter area would hit it, I would imagine. The light would be reflecting. Almost forgot the gum. When it's dry, which I'm really hoping it was, I just want to put more shadow in just up there. It really should be quite dark in there, inside the mouth. To choose colours that blend much easier together, you could choose colours that are of the same tonal value. For example, two light colours. The yellow I've used with a lighter shade of orange or green, for example, instead of the fuchsia pink. Or choose colours of the same tonal value and also colours that are harmonious. Harmonious meaning they are next to each other on the colour wheel. You can see how easily the magenta and the purple pastel pencil have blended well. They are of the same tonal value and are harmonious. You can see that I did, just going back a bit, that I did use the black around the mouth, the Copic black. So don't forget that, and the little bit on the nose. I didn't film that because it took me so long, because I was just had to be super careful, because once black's on, it's on. There's no covering that up. So try and be neat with it. It makes it just look really cool. And just on the teeth, just so they're not bright white, I'm just putting a bit of purple. That was already on the stump blender. Little bit on there. I like it when that happens. And on the teeth. Not too much really. They are supposed to be white after all. But you can see how more effective that is than if I was to just leave them white. And of course the orange. It just defines it a bit more, I thought. I'm just trying to blend it, the orange into the yellow there. Kind of got a bit messy on the black lines, but yeah, adding a shadow there under the gums. It's pretty easy. Now just to add a bit of depth and to finish it off a bit there. You probably even could just leave that white, but you know, I thought, well, kind of needs to just blend the black from the black to the stark white. It's just that transition. And I'm also making sure I use one stump blender for each colour, otherwise they'll just get mixed up or the colours become murky. So all the materials I have used today are listed in the description, along with my Facebook colouring group if you're interested. Just putting some yellow pastel there on the eye, not on the whole area, a bit of orange right at the bottom. Just trying to blend it in a bit. And some pink, just so that it's reflecting all the colours except for purple, of course, but it looks really nice. Blend it in there, and then I wanted to colour in the pupil. I was going to leave a bit of white highlight, but I went over it accidentally. It's really hard in that small area, so that's alright, it still looks good. Now with a white pastel pencil, I'm just going to go over the whiskers. It's really hard to see them now that it's black. I'm just kind of looking at my original actually to see where the whiskers are. I found that the gel pen was a bit too dark. I wasn't happy with how it went over the Copics. I found the pastel pencil was the most effective. Almost done here. I just wanted to put a bit of shadow here. And while the purple still on the stump blender, just blend that bit into the eye. Or the white bit in front of the eye. So that's part 1 finished, and I hope you like it. In part 2 of this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to colour in a face, so please subscribe to my channel so you can watch the next one. Thank you.